Welcome back to America's Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. The segment's brought to you by BOMI, BOMI.org. They are the industry standard for education related to facilities and property management. Do check them out. Today we're talking about office, and I want to talk some more about office use. Whether you run a company, you work somewhere, you lead a business, or you own office space, you're a vendor in the business. We've seen a lot of changes in the office environment and continually seeing them evolve. Please welcome our next guest, an expert in the subject, Dave Madson. He's a principal with CBT. He's joining us on Skype. Dave, thanks for being with us.
I'm glad to be here, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Well, Dave, I've got to say automatically, man, you're a big reader because your shelves are empty behind you. You have read
them all, so I gave them on to the next person.
I understand you're in a guest office of one of your clients today. So
that's right.
That's right. Well, that's excellent. Well, CBT, you guys do architecture and design work. You've done work all over the country, and you've only been around your company for 50 years. So, people, hey, are you really going to make it?
Fingers are crossed.
There you go. Well, let's talk about some ideas involving office space and how we can all benefit from design today as things have really matured and seem to be evolving. My first question is culture. I think a lot of the companies that we represent looking for space in our market around Atlanta are really concerned about the culture for very reason. How can the space design help with that?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is something that so many of our clients nationally and globally struggle with, is that their new space that they may be moving into really reflects who they are and isn't just a generic office space that anyone could be in. And I think that's something that we're hearing more and more, and there's so much more respect from the top down to really listen to a company's employees and understand that in order for a company to be successful today, it has to be a complete team effort. So what we tend to do at CBT is do a real deep dive at the beginning of a project once we are starting to work with a new client and really try to get to the essence of and core and kernel of what that culture is or aspirationally wants to be. We do what's called a vision lab, where we will meet with a complete cross-section of an office, top to bottom, young to old, sort of new way of working to old school way of working. And the idea being that if we get everyone into a room, have them talk to each other, acknowledge that perhaps not everyone may work the same way, but they are all maybe pulling towards a common goal. And so our design then will spin off of things that we've heard during that vision lab, and the goal being to create a space that uniquely represents that culture of that firm, because that's going to be what differentiates that firm from their competitors in this culture of competitive hiring that we see, where there's this real war on talent. So I think from our perspective, the space absolutely has to represent a culture of a firm.
Yeah, and the culture is important, but also I guess the CEO and the CFO, everyone really wants productivity as well. So what do you see in there related to open space and non-open space? It seems like that seems to be evolving. What's the picture today? What do you see going on there?
Yeah, I think there's been, and rightfully so, there's been, I feel, some pushback from spaces getting more and more open, and the landscape being a wide open sea of workbenches with sort of no place to escape to. And I think there's been a lot of pushback from those sort of worker bees that are really just trying to be productive in their daily work. And I think there's been a real acknowledgement from leadership that perhaps not everyone works at their best in that type of environment. And so we found that really having balance and other opportunities and flexibility within a space, so that if you really need to focus on reading a document or studying something that you're going to be doing a deposition or something like that, you need a very quiet environment. And so whether that's a small, huddle room or a quiet seat next to a window where it's understood that that there's no talking in that area, for example, like a quiet car on a train, those types of spaces will augment what an open office environment has. So to us, it's a system, an ecosystem of spaces. There might be an oasis where it's off in the corner, and the understanding is that there's no talking in there. It might be a room there where several people are, but it's really not meant for group collaboration.
Yeah.
Likewise, there still are many of our clients have some offices, certainly not as many offices as there used to be. But I think the pendulum, to your point, is swinging a little bit back from a very, very open environment to something that has a little bit more balance and allows staff with different work styles to find the space that might work best for them.
Yeah, and you mentioned war on talent, and unemployment has really been improving, and companies are concerned about retention and recruiting. How far up the list is recruiting and retention on your clients' list today, and how are you going about achieving that?
Yeah, I think certainly in 2018, recruiting and retention is, if it's not number one, it's top three for almost all of our clients. The goal of a space is to wow somebody on a potential tour when they're coming in for an interview, and honestly, for new hires, those types of spaces are typically more and more are the shared spaces. So having amenities in your space, having a large gathering space, a cafe space, a game room, a nap room, those types of spaces are incredibly important for recruiting and retention, so that they can leave that space knowing that, hey, this is a company that cares about my well-being. It's not just about I'm sitting at a desk all day, for 8, 10, 12 hours and completing all of my tasks at that one location. I'm free to move around this space and enjoy all of the benefits that the space provides.
Yeah, well, that's some good ideas, and I agree. I think it needs to be enticing for the people for recruiting, and also just very comfortable and show that your space, that you really care about your employees, and I think that's a great one. And another way that companies are doing that today is with wellness. And you talk about the idea of a bench and everybody sitting very close together. I might be a little bit of a germaphobe, but I don't like the ideas of somebody sneezing or whatever, and people in a real close environment. But wellness is a lot more than proximity to people together. What do you guys see, and how big is wellness to your clients today, and what are you doing there?
It's incredible in the last 3 or 4 years how much more awareness our clients have gotten regarding the idea of wellness in the workplace. I think just going back to the fact that we're animals. We're not meant to be inside, yet we spend 95% of our time indoors. So how do we counteract that from a wellness perspective? I think for us, first and foremost is access to natural light. So how do we push natural light as far into the space as possible? As far as other aspects, I think we work with our clients to really encourage that moving through the space throughout the day. So you're not kind of very static and stable in your entire day. Ergonomic features, allowing users that might want slight adjustments to their personal workspace or major adjustments like sit-to-stand desks, or even reconfiguring their workspace to match how they work. Those types of things are incredibly important. Health and nutrition work hand in hand. So cafes and food and drink options are more and more prevalent and important to provide those kind of varieties that new employees are expecting these days. That it's not just junk food in and Diet Coke. It's really a variety of food and beverage options that are provided throughout the day, morning, noon, and night. In case somebody's working long hours, they're able to be supported and feel like they're eating nutritiously while they're at the office.
Yeah,
those types of things are incremental, but if you add them all up together, it creates sort of an ecosystem of wellness that allow someone to feel great about being indoors for the amount of time that they are.
Yeah, and we care about wellness as business leaders because we care about the people that work with us, but also it comes down to productivity, right? If people are out sick, it doesn't do well for them. Well, now there's a wellness certification, right, that people can get. How many of your clients, when you tell them about the potential to get a wellness certification, are into that? How many people are wanting to do that or are doing it?
Yeah, it's becoming more and more a part of the discussion. Where something maybe 5-10 years ago, it was all about LEED and sort of building energy efficiency and those types of things. Now the discussion is much more about the human aspect of things and wellness. So whether it's a space becoming Fitwell certified or well certified, those are discussions we are having almost with all of our clients at the early stages of talking about goals and what's important to them to deliver to their staff. So it's really become part of the discussion, and it's something that many of our clients are already educated about and want to know more about.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's going to continue to grow. I think it's extremely important. And if you just tuned in, we're talking to Dave Madson. He's a principal with CBT. It's an architecture and design firm. And no, that is not Dave. If you're watching the video, that is not Dave's desk with the empty bookshelves. He's visiting a client's office that they had a spare space for him to sit in New York. His main office is in Boston. So, Dave, what's new? What's coming down the road? What should we expect? It seems like office space and design is really evolving fast. What's in our future?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing a continuous push for the idea of sort of why even come into the office after the recession in 2008, where there were so many unemployed folks who were then turned into sort of single entrepreneurs. That's just when smartphone technology was advancing to the point where you almost could work anywhere, anytime. And I think that has now infused itself back into the office. So sure, you can work literally anywhere, anytime these days with how incredible technology has come to have a mobile office. But I think what companies are discovering or have discovered is that in order to be as productive and support a strong culture, you really need to be in the office, probably more than you're not in the office. There's been many large companies that have tried the remote work for a while and then have come back to coming into the office. I think there is a stronger sense of place that we're seeing more and more, and creating that strong culture within the office is something we're seeing as we're moving into 2019, 2020 with our clients. I think also the idea of connected buildings and tenants within buildings that are using the Internet of Things and devices that are embedded, whether they're in their RFID cards or their phones or sensors in the space. I think we're seeing that more and more, so that you can self-report when something's too cold or too hot, and the building can make the adjustment right off the bat without having to go through a maintenance person in your firm. I think that level of connectedness is what the expectation is, since we can all do it in our homes now. So that's come into the commercial real estate business now, and I think we're seeing so much more kind of smart offices because of that.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. The use of technology can really make us all more efficient. And I've seen the same thing that you were talking about a moment ago that people who have the synergy and the power of coming together and coming in the office seem to be more productive and more excited about what they're doing when they have that community around them and that support around them of people with the similar ideas and thoughts and missions. So how are companies getting those employees or those people that work for them, how are they drawing them into the office and wanting the employees wanting to be there? What is the draw? It's not just a food table, is it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely more than a foosball table. I think that's our goal is to design a space that people are excited to show up to work every day, and it starts with the Vision Lab that I spoke about earlier, and really trying for us as designers to understand deeply what that company's existing or aspirational culture is, and then creating a space that responds and reflects that culture and supports it and augments it, even amplifies it. So without those early steps to get to the crux of that issue, I think the space won't have the qualities that it is required to have in order to be that space that it draws people to it, and folks want to work there and come together and really accomplish something as a group.
Okay, so it really depends on the client and their culture of how they're getting people to come to the office, maybe and also, what these companies do, right? What industry they're in. Yeah. Well, we do the same. We have a game room and we have a cafe, and we have some cool aspects to our office and our furniture. And I've noticed what you're saying. It does get people wanting to be at the office, and when people come to work with us or as an employee or a broker or a client, they seem to come in and they get a feel and energy. And one of the things that we've used is a lot of plants and a lot of flowers. And I was surprised as a I don't know, a man maybe, how big the difference the flowers make. I'm here in the office without them. I'm like, what's missing? Why don't I feel good? Is that becoming more important? You seeing more of that?
Absolutely, and that gets back to the idea that we're built for being in nature. So it's not natural for us to be inside buildings. So using natural elements, whether they be green walls or plants throughout the space, or natural wood or stone elements, things that are natural, soft colors, natural colors throughout a space are other tools that we can use to help create that sense of calm and focus and comfort, really, that I think so many of our clients are constantly looking for, that will help reinforce the goals that will propel them forward.
Good. Closing quick tip for the audience related to office space, Dave. What would you leave them with?
I think listen to your employees. The corporate leaders, I think, more and more are understanding that the culture is something that is holistic and is bottom up as well as top down. And once you kind of accept that, and everyone's voice is somewhat equal when it comes to what they need to in an office space to support how they work, I think then everything tends to flow pretty easily.
That's a great tip, and we try to do that when we're representing tenants, and sometimes we do get some pushback. What do you mean you want to talk to these people without me there? Yeah, because they might say something we can really help you. Great tip. Dave, great information. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And keep reading all those books. You're doing a great job, sir.
I will.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us around the world or around the U.S. We appreciate your thoughts. And hey, connect with us. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. You can find us under The Commercial Real Estate Show or Commercial Real Estate Show. We're also on Alexa and those type devices. So just tell Alexa, play podcast, The Commercial Real Estate Show. Thank you for being with us. Join us next week, and until then, be sure you always lead, learn, and laugh, and join us for America's Commercial Real Estate Show.